Good evening. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, WW7ATS. The Western Washington Amateur Television Society is a group of amateur radio enthusiasts that take to the airways with fast scan television. We have a repeater located up on Cougar Mountain. We transmit on 70 centimeters. It's a crossband repeater, and it spits out images at 1.2 gigahertz. To find out more about our club, Google WW7ATS. That's Google WW7ATS. That will take you to our homepage. There you'll find information about our organization, also the frequencies that we transmit on, and also you'll find a link that takes you to YouTube where we stream our meetings held on Wednesdays and Saturdays between 8 and 9 o'clock. Also, we'd like to thank the SeaTac Repeater Association. WW7STR's repeater 14708 with a tone for Cougar Mountain 103.5 for our voice transmissions for our nets held this evening. So with that, I'll pause in case anybody has emergency traffic or needs to make a contact with anyone on the 08 machine before our net gets fully underway. Again, this is Dave, KD7CYM, and this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net.
N7KC.
Well, good evening all again. This is Dave, KD7CYM, and this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. Also checked in via video link is Ron, KD7QKU, Lee, N7KC, Bert, N7CS, Bob, K9PQ, Richard, K7ITX, Wade, W7ITL, Jim, N7QO, and myself, Dave, KD7CYM. Is there anybody else that would like to check into the net now? Hearing none, let's get the ball rolling, and we'll start off with Ron in Tacoma. KD7QKU.
Okay, thanks, Dave. That might be a mistake to start off with Ron, KD7QKU. Well, first off, today there was a whole lot of talk about Tiger Mountain. And I can't say that I'm very enthused over Tiger Mountain. Number one, I mean, it sounds like Rob was saying that you have to walk on eggshells up there with the people that run it, and then the road to get there is hard, and then you can't get there with a car. And then, of course, there's access to the building. And then, of course, there's snow in October, March, April or something, so then you can't get up there, so I don't know. I'm not going to be doing any of it, so I really shouldn't care, but I just can't get very enthusiastic over Tiger Mountain, I'm sorry to say. So I did sell my telescope, so I have some money, but I would like to, invest in some digital TV equipment for myself, but it would, it's hopeless right now because there's nothing going on. So this afternoon I was talking with Bert for a minute, and I was hoping Wade would be here, but I think maybe we should try to put something up at Wade's house. I mean, you stand on his roof, I mean, you really look at the whole area. I don't know how well it would work, but I'd like to see us, kind of start testing some equipment. I talked to Bert. He said he and Wade tried to communicate once, and they weren't successful. But I wanted to ask Bert how many watts you used when you and Wade were trying to communicate on the digital TV. Can you tell me that?
When Wade and I were trying that, it was about 10 watts. I don't think we ever used the high, the 65. N7CS.
I heard you say today that you had maybe it could get 70 watts or something. That might make a difference. So I was reading the newsletter tonight that comes out of Colorado, and there were some people in there, and they were talking about digital TV and communicating at 83 miles, and he showed the picture he got. It was absolutely beautiful. So what are they doing that we're not doing or something? I mean, most of us are, I'm 28 miles from Cougar Mountain, but I don't know. It just seems like it's possible, and if we worked at it, we could make it work. So I don't know. I just, getting up to Cougar Mountain's a little bit difficult, but I don't know. Maybe getting to Wade's house is difficult too for Bert. Bert would have to be heavily involved. I think Wade and Bert would be the ones that would be setting up and testing and stuff. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just hoping and wishing, but I'd like to see us move forward with it, that's for sure. All right, back to net, KD7QKU.
KD7QKU, thanks for joining. Let's go to Port Angeles to Lee, N7KC.
Okay. N7KC, we in Port Angeles. Did I make the trip okay? Yeah, okay. There has been some interesting noises on the Echo Link tonight. I mean, it's working fine, but it's just some very, very strange stuff. Anyway, very good. Well, yeah, Ron, that would be fun, I guess. I'm in a tough spot over here, I just am. I don't know what I'm going to do about it. Anyway, I don't have much to report. We just had a long drive today. By the time my running around up in Linwood, I'm sure it came to around 200 miles. And the ferries were fine. They're expensive now. It's just expensive. Even with seniors and not a very big car, it was 19 from Edmonds over to, or from Kingston to Edmonds, because the passenger doesn't pay that way. But then going from Edmonds to Kingston, then the passenger pays, and it was up $23.60, I think it was. So it's not a cheap thing. We could have brought the Volkswagen, taken the Volkswagen over. It's under 20 feet, and saves you a little bit. But the peak season is on right now, the tourist season, and that's what it's all about. They jack them up about 30%. For years, to be honest, for a long, long time. So I guess you gotta amortize it out. Anyway, good to see everybody tonight. I hope you had a good meeting this morning. Thought about you. Things didn't work out. Paula had a luncheon today. Her high school, the ladies in her high school graduating class every year get together at Arnie's restaurant down in Edmonds on the waterfront. And so the plan was I would drop her off. We normally walk on the ferry. We don't drive over. The last time we did this, it was years ago though. But I needed to go up north of Linwood and see an old friend from the University of Washington. He'll be 92 in October, and we had a good visit. As you can just imagine a little bit, it was somewhat of a difficult visit because of his age, but we still got the job done. There's my signal. My time's up. Back to you, Dave. This is N7KC. We have Port Angeles. Go ahead.
KC, let's go to Bert, N7CS in Marysville.
Hello, everyone. Apologies for that. I think I may have been. I don't usually use my radio in two-channel mode, and I think I was sending the DTMF tones over the 14708 instead of the control frequency. So I switched up. Looks like it changed over. I don't know if that was me or if Wade or somebody else sent it on a different carrier. But in any case, it it's working now, and apologize for the noise. Let's see, what do we got going on? Ron, you were talking about like how those guys in Colorado are getting like 83-mile QSOs on digital TV. So where they're located, they just have really, really great geography. They have got like, these mountains are like really high. I don't know what the number is, but it's probably like, I don't know, 6,000, 8,000, 10,000 feet or something like that. And they have like line of sight. Like they can see each other with binoculars, like 83, well, I don't know about that, but maybe a telescope. They can see each other like line of sight from there. So it's just nothing interfering with their signals at all. And the ones that do, they are able to just bounce it off other mountains and things like that. So our mountains aren't quite that high, and it's just not as great for us to be able to do that kind of stuff. Let's see, what else we got going on? When Wade and I were doing the testing, I think I was transmitting around 10 watts digital when I was trying to send something to his house. I don't know if we ever used my bigger amplifier that does like 60, 70 watts. That might be something to try in the future. But, the other thing I was going to talk about, I'm going to let it drop for a second. And when I was in Alaska this most recent time, I was doing a hike off from the ship, and one of the people on the hike was using this app that they were letting their phone listen to all like the bird chirps and songs happening, and it would actually identify what kind of bird it was, and it would show you a picture of it. So it was an app called Merlin. It's by the wizard Merlin. It's from Cornell University. And so I downloaded that yesterday, and just like when I was walking around the neighborhood today, I turned it on, tried it out, and it was working. It was identifying like American robins and house sparrows and things like that. Just from the microphone on the phone. So really, really cool. So I'm going to like take that app with me when I go to Alaska again and try it out to see some stuff. But just amazing, amazing little app. It was again Merlin by Cornell University. Anyway, this is Bird in Marysville in 7CS. Back to net.
CS, and it's time for an ID. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Let's go to Bob, K9PQ in Bottle.
First thing, you guys might notice something different about me tonight. I don't have a green screen behind me. So my little ATEM Mini is very powerful and has one feature that I didn't know about. I knew what I needed to do to get this to happen, but it would require hitting multiple buttons every time I wanted to switch back and forth, and it just wasn't going to be workable for the net. But there's a macro feature. So I was able to set up macros to do all the buttons that need to be pushed to make this happen. I'm pretty excited about that. So, yeah, it's nice to have a background behind me instead of just a green screen. Let's see. Yeah, that Merlin app, that is very cool. I maybe had that at one time, but I didn't really use it much for identifying sounds. I think if I remember right, it also has pictures and things so you can identify birds that way. I think I was using it more for that, but I may just reload that for the sounds. That sounds really cool. Yeah, and Ron, Bert explained about Denver, but if you do want to experiment with it, you could certainly buy the gear and experiment with Wade, because he's close to you. I would imagine you'd have a good signal to Wade. So the two of you, Bert and I, have done point-to-point, not from our homes, but we've done point-to-point going remote, and you might have I guess you'd have to find out first if you have a direct path to Wade with nothing in the way. But if you do, I'd say you'd have good luck. Lee, yeah, that ferry ride, man, that's a lot, and it is expensive. I mean, taking that with my car with the trailer, it is definitely expensive. So I imagine there's probably a gas, an extra amount added on because of the price of gas too these days. Let's see, I thought I had something else too. but I am not remembering it, so I'll pick it up next time around. Back to net, K9PQ.
9PQ, thanks for joining the net. Let's go to Richard in Kent, K7ITX.
Hi, everybody. So anyway, yeah, Ron, yeah, I'm with you on going digital. Just kind of have to follow the leader. So if you want to be the leader, that's fine. Oh, you don't want to be the leader, all right. So yeah, that's a great idea. Let's see. And then lead, that's pretty exciting about getting your car tuned up. After, yeah, what do they say? Three's a charm. So, you know, he's out of the room, so he probably can't hear me, but that's all right. And the ferry boat, I've got, next time around I'll tell you my ferry boat story, because it's actually, you know, when I tell it, it's a trilogy, believe it or not. It's part of a trilogy, and it's a true story. So, you know how I like to tell and embellish my true stories, you know, so that'll be fun. Let's see what else is going on. Yeah, Bob, good work on the green screen. That's fabulous. I knew you could do it, and I was just wondering when, and when there's a will, there's a way. And the Merlin Bird app, oh my God, I'm going to try to figure out how to do that right away as well. Because I got like a big bird aviary outside in my backyard. Oh, and then, you know, I told you guys about this weird incident. Well, it's not an incident, but, you know, we have this, you know, nice new lush front grass that we put in last year, and lo and behold, our next door neighbor, of course, told you how she's a, you know, Asian, Chinese, Taiwan lady, new to the area, and you know, has a condominium in a high-rise in you know, back over in Taiwan. But so she finally got. I've mowed her grass a few times because you know, it's just getting crazy, and I just thought it'd be helpful, and even mowed her backyard. Bought a brand new lawnmower just like ours, of course. I told you how she cut our grass way too low. I mean, the lowest setting there is. You know, Debbie just about had a heart attack. I just kept my mouth shut. And then, of course, she didn't mow the whole thing. She only mowed the easy part and left the stuff around the garden up towards the front of the house long, you know, so it was kind of odd. Anyway, little did I know, we did have a response to what happened. I'm glad I asked, because I could have really put my foot in my mouth, but turns out Debbie went over and talked to her and explained to her what happens when you cut your grass too low. Everything turns all yellow, blah, blah, blah. And are you sure she could understand you? And, well, her son, who is in middle school, speaks and understands English really good. And she said that he was nearby, and she does a reasonably good job of understanding. So, I have a feeling she's not going to be cutting our grass anymore for fear of the wrath of the YL. So, but anyway, I think it was they're just fantastic people. That's why I really didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to hurt any feelings. But you know, it's Debbie. You know, when it comes to that gardening stuff, she wears the pants in the family. So that's what I know. K7ITX, back to net control.
ITX. Let's go to Wade, W7ITL in Tacoma. finally, we'll pass on Wade. Let's go to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO. Thank you, Dave. Good evening, everyone. Ron, wow. Well, congratulations on selling your telescope. I'm sure you're happy with that. And about some of this communication, yeah, you know, we tell people that you need an unobstructed line of sight, but sometimes people kind of forget about that. At my location, I have never had an unobstructed line of sight. I have always had trees here, and over the decades, these trees have grown. I've been doing this for 20 years now, and it has just grown progressively worse for me. I'm not sure what all is going on with Tiger. It may be, maybe, that someone is trying to help me out, because I definitely have fewer trees between me and Tiger than I do between me and Cougar. So I don't know, maybe I'm at least indirectly to blame for what's going on at Tiger. Don't know for sure. Once upon a time, our club was we actually had an ATV repeater at East Tiger, and we were going to link the two repeaters together, but that never happened. Let's see, Lee. 200 miles, holy cow, that's, I don't know, is that one way or round trip? Round trip. Well, yeah, that's a long drive. I had a job once upon a time where I was driving around from various Air Force bases, and my company only wanted us to drive like 400 miles per day. They equated that to roughly 8 hours of driving. And so I can appreciate 200 miles. It's really the better part of a 4-hour drive anyway. But congratulations on getting your car going. I had sort of a similar problem. I had a vehicle which had a more or less first-generation ignition system, and under the distributor cap was a little coil that would pick up every time this thing would rotate and tick to fire a spark. Well, the sensor, every now and then the engine would just quit. I mean, I'm driving down the road and it would just quit. And so I pull over and let me reset. So I pull over and I had to let the engine cool down. So I take a meter and I check this sensor, and it checked good. Well, it turns out when the engine would cool down, it would test just fine, but once you heat it up, and I determined this later, I removed the thing and held a heat gun to it. Sure enough, it would malfunction. So sometimes you just got to try different things, and it's not always the way you think it might work out. But congratulations on the car. Cars are a royal pain in the butt, but they're a necessary evil, and it's a plus that you're getting extra mileage too. Bert, Merlin app for birds. Wow. I wonder if they have apps for other animals. Like if you're walking through the woods and you hear a growl, okay, is that something big enough to bite my leg off, or is it just an ankle biter, or is it just a squirrel begging for a snack or something? I don't know. I could think of one time I was in a crowd. I don't remember what event we were going to. It may have been a ball game or something, but there was a group of couples. A whole bunch of us couples were walking somewhere. And so I knew it wasn't my wife because I'm standing next to her, walking next to her, and I was looking right at her. But some woman said, honey, and I swear to God, like 4 guys said, what? So maybe an app that can identify your wife could be useful at times anyway. Of course, now with voice cloning, I don't know. Anyway, just food for thought. Bob, yeah, I can't see your green stream. I'm not doing streaming tonight, and I had absolutely nothing on the 1.2 gigahertz downlink. But anyway, it sounds like you'd accomplished something there. Good job on that. And let's see. Oh, Dick, grass. Yeah, that's a perpetual problem around here too. Different neighbors cut them at different lengths, and where I have, there's a common area. There's an easement, so like I'm responsible to maintain part, another neighbor's responsible for another part, and frequently they wind up at different levels. It's a little strange, but you were saying about who wears the pants in the family. Well, I wear the pants in my family. My wife just tells me which pants to put on. What can I say? Back to you, Dave, N7QO.
7QO, this is Dave, KD7ZYM, and this is Society Net. And again, I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. Well, let's see, I got 66 degrees out. It's sunshiny, clear in the sky, but I wanted to change the weather. It's been so dry around the last few days. I got out a bucket and some soap and hand washed my car today. So anyway, I figured if I washed it 2 times over, that maybe we'd have some rain coming rather rapidly, but I don't know. Anyway, I gave it a try, but I don't know if I'll be successful with that or not. So this is Dave, KD7ZYM in Lake City. So I'm going to send it back up to Ron, KD7QKU.
KD7QKU here again. Let's see. The first question I have is for Lee. Lee, we used to have this program, astronomical program on our computer. It was just fantastic. I lost mine, and I forget the name of it. Do you remember the name of it? So you can tell me, maybe I can download it again. And Richard, maybe you could go over and adjust the height on your neighbor's lawnmower, because they might not know how to do that. And Richard is shaking his head. No, that would be a nice gesture, I think. Make it just like yours, and then everything would be good to go. That Merlin Bird app, I'll have to check that out. It sounds like it might be kind of a handy one when you're moving around bird watching, I guess. What else is going on? I don't know. So I sold my telescope. It was a kind of an interesting story, if you want to hear it. What was it, Thursday night? I think it was. Thursday night. Yeah, maybe. I got a text message, that's how you communicate when you're on this offer up and stuff. And this young, I don't know, said, hey, is your telescope still for sale? Man, I've been looking like crazy for one of those, and I'll pay you the full offer. So anyway, I sent him my phone number, said I think we need to talk. So I no more than got the message sent, and my phone was ringing. And he was Eager Beaver, really nice guy. He grew up in Montana. He was driving a nice Dodge pickup. He's married. He's probably about 30 years old. Into ham radio and into astronomy. And he drove into my driveway, and he said, is that a ham radio antenna on your pickup and stuff? And yeah. Oh my, he said. So anyway, he kept telling me, even told me in text, are you sure that's all you want for your telescope? because he said, man, those things are really nice. I want to add it to my collection, and so no, I said, that's all. And you get everything that's in the picture for that price? Yeah. So anyway, so he came over. So he wanted to come that night, but we were going to a ball game, so he said, well, I'm working, and he said, I get up awful early, and I know he was in Bellevue, and he said, traffic to Tacoma's terrible. So can I come early? Yes, you can. Okay. Could I get there by 8 o'clock? Sure. Okay, so let's look between 8 and 9. I'll get there as soon as I can. So anyway, the phone rang at 7:30, and he said, I'm just minutes away from your house. Can I come over? And I said, sure. So he came over, introduced himself. His name was Kyle, and his wife's name was Amanda. She wasn't with him. He was alone. And anyway, he was a super nice young man, a really good talker. He was thrilled to get the telescope. So I asked him, do you know anything about culmination? Oh, yeah, no, I know all about that. I can culminate. You need something does it need culminating? Well, I don't know. I said, my son hauled it around in his motorhome for 3 years. There's a possibility. So he said, you haven't looked through it? No, I haven't. I said, no problem, he said. And there was a few other little things that my son didn't take very good care of it. He didn't realize that it was kind of expensive, and it was also rather fragile. So I was sort of disappointed in that. But no, he looked it all over, and we talked about anything that was wrong, and he said, no problem, he could fix it or live with it or something. But no, he was thrilled to get it. So I would imagine he had it up and running last night. So I don't know. I was hoping he would call me or send me a text telling me that the culmination was okay and it looked fine. So, like I say, I asked him if he could see Cougar Mountain, and I showed him my TV equipment, and I got about a P3 picture back that morning, and it was probably better than I normally get, and he thought that was amazing. And but he was only a technician, and he just does mostly 2 meters. He does do simplex, 2 meter simplex. So he does a lot of things, but anyway, very nice man, and I'm sure glad he got the telescope. All right, back to net, 87 QKU.
QKU. Let's go to Lee in 7KC in Port Angeles.
Okay, N7KC in Port Angeles. Oh, very good. Richard, I had to go take a pill, so I just took my phone with me so I could hear everything said. No problem. And Ron, the name of the program is Stellarium. Stellarium, right? One of the just nicest star programs, either on your big computer or on your phone. It's really, really nice. The Merlin app, I'm really interested in that. You know, Cornell University is really, really big in ornithology, and they run several sites that have eagle cams and that sort of thing. Look up Cornell University and take a look at their webcams on birds. It's outrageous. Very, very nicely done. They've been doing it for years. So the fact that they've got something like that doesn't surprise me, really. So I'm going to go straight away after the net, see if I can find it. I'm Android, so I don't know whether it'll be available for this phone or not. The car, I think we saved a good $1,000 by me doing it myself. I was prepared to have somebody else do it, and I called Riddell over here. See, we bought the car in 17, and about a year later started doing this, and then we get a letter just before that says, we lost the dealership. It's a Hyundai, and we'll be glad to service your car, but you'll get no warranty work here. You have to pay the full tab. And that annoyed me, to be honest. I thought that was, out of line. They should have let us know, because it was soon enough here when we bought the car. They certainly knew something was going on. So I called them here before I tied into it, and I says, well, it's been a problem for years, but really intermittent will go for 4 months, nothing. Then all of a sudden, away it would go. So they said, well, we have to charge diagnostic charge, and if it's an intermittent, we may not find it. Probably won't find it. Charge anyway. So you'll have to pay the diagnostic charge, and it was like $250 just for them to. And so I said no. And then I got to thinking, all the stuff, the engines are beautiful to work on. They're really easy. And injector sits right up in the front. It's 2 bolts to undo the thing. 4 actually. The fuel line's got 2, and the injector header has got 2. The plugs are trivial, and now they don't use distributors anymore. They have a coil on the top of every plug. I think they call it a stack or something. Anyway, it's extraordinarily easy to work on, so I thought, well, what the heck, I'll see what I can do. And by golly, we got it. So, yeah, Paula says, when it was really acting up, Paula says, let's trade it in. Let's trade it in. I says, well, I think we ought to be able to fix that before that. Oh, I ran out of time. I don't want to time it out. Back to you, Dave. This is N7KC, Lee in Port Angeles.
7KC, and this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. So let's go to Bert, N7CS in Marysville.
Okay, well, hello, everyone. Again, let's see, Ron, congrats on selling the telescope there. It sounds like that wasn't the same group that contacted you the other day from the club. It sounds like it was somebody else. Let's see. Oh, yeah, Lee, the Merlin app does work on Android. That's actually what I'm using it on, an Android phone, so no problems there. I don't know if they have it for iPhone, but probably. But definitely Android works. You, Ron and Lee were talking about astronomy programs for the computer. I used to use that kind of stuff a long time ago, and I remember in the old days, the astronomy programs were pretty simple. They would just, show you a little plot of the constellation, just pinpoints of pixels on the screen that would move around. Nowadays, some of the astronomy programs, I haven't used any recently, but it's like you're watching a movie, like major big budget production. It's more cinematic now than, it's like I don't need all that. I just want the pinpoints of light to know what I'm looking at. But let's see, what else is going on? Oh yeah, so my mom recently moved out to be close to my sister. They live kind of in the middle of nowhere in Leakey, Texas, which is like 90 minutes outside of San Antonio by car. And they've been telling me that it's like really, really dark skies there. So I don't know, I've never been out there before, so I'll probably go visit them sometime in December. I'm kind of curious to see how dark it really is there. If it's super dark and there's actually a lot of stars, then maybe that could be a project to set up like a robo-telescope or something like that I can remote control. But that probably needs some big bucks, so I don't know. I'm probably thinking way too far ahead on that. I gotta check out the site first and make sure my sister wouldn't charge me rent for setting something up. But let's see. It's 2 minutes. So this is N7CS in Marysville. Back to net.
N7CS, Bert, thanks for that. Let's go on down to Bob, K9PQ.
Hey, well, we seem to have temporarily lost video output, but Wade is looking into it now, so hopefully that can get going again. I did notice that we're still getting audio to YouTube, so that part's working. Let's see. I really like that, Jim, about wearing the pants in the family, and reminds me of what I heard, which is a man bragging that I make all the big decisions, and my wife makes the little decisions. And somebody asked him, well, how do you know what's a big decision or what's a little decision? And he said, oh, that's a little decision. And yeah, the new grass and all the lawnmower stuff, that is in my past, at least for now. I'm here. That's all part of the condo association fee I pay. They take care of all of that, and which is fine with me. And they cut it the right length every time. But they are noisy. Oh my goodness! Not the mowers, but the blowers. They use the gas-powered blowers that, from what I can tell, have no kind of muffler at all. They might have a really bad muffler, but it doesn't really work. So it'd be nice if they were using the electric ones, but you know, an organization like that, they can't really afford to do that. They don't last long enough for the amount they use them. Let's see, looking up for anything else here. That's all I have in my notes right now. So I will send it back. K9PQ.
K9PQ. Let's go to Richard, T7ITX in Kent.
Okay, well, yeah, Ron, I'm sure, well, I know Debbie schooled them on the height that the lawnmower setting should be, so, and again, that's not my department. So, and then as far as my ferry boat story regarding, you know, part of a trilogy, well, actually the ferry boat is chapter 3. Chapter 1, and this all happened within, you know, like a 3 to 4 week span, these 3 things. So chapter 1 would be riding Amtrak. And this is when I was in the process of moving from Vancouver, Washington to the Seattle area, actually West Seattle, precisely West Seattle. Well, the chapter 1 was a train derailment on Amtrak, right as it crossed the Nisqually River, and as it made the rounding turn onto the coast, well, not the coast, but the shoreline of Puget Sound, near the mouth of the Nisqually Delta, right on Fort Lewis property, and we hit a culvert that had failed, and that's a big long story. I'm sure I've told that before. Then the next week, chapter 2, just as we were moving, getting everything moved to West Seattle, just before we moved, I noticed, I don't know, a police car, fire truck in our neighborhood, and that's very unusual. And so, and it was just stopped, seemed like it slowed down and stopped just right around the corner from our house. So I went and looked. Well, a light plane had crashed into the roof of a house. And see, we lived right at the end of a runway. Our neighborhood was right at the end, and I always wondered if there'd ever be a plane crash into our neighborhood. And there was. So it was just pretty weird to first be in a train crash, and then the next week have a plane crash right by where you live, and then we moved to West Seattle. Right by Lincoln Park, where the Fauntleroy ferry boat terminal is, and you know, so we were pretty excited. It was a beautiful day, spring day. We just moved. Let's take the ferry boat. So we go down there. Of course, as soon as we got down to where the ferry boat, it's all foggy. It's just totally fogged in. And so, let's go anyway. Maybe it'll clear out. So we got on the boat, and I couldn't believe it. An old college roommate was a deckhand, and so that was pretty fun to see him. A little disturbed, so the boat leaves in the fog, of course. They go in the fog no matter what. And this is the Fauntleroy run to Vashon and Port Orchard. I can't remember what they call that over there. But I thought it was pretty weird. My friend, he wears glasses, and he would stand as the boat's moving. He would stand right in front, right in the very right at the front of the bow with, I don't know if he was on lookout. I mean, I couldn't figure it. It's all foggy. His glasses, I mean, you couldn't see through his glasses. It was almost like a joke. And I thought, my God, there's got to be there's got to be more to this, of course. So anyway, we go upstairs, and so we're sitting upstairs. The ferry's going, slower than usual. All of a sudden, you could just hear the motor stop. Everything kind of stops. And I thought, okay, well, it's foggy, we got to slow down. Well, no, then everybody stands up. People that are around us, everyone stands up, and I go, what's going on? So I stood up. Oh, my God, we're headed right for a tugboat and a barge. We're about to get in this big crash. But tugboats, as nimble as they are, they can turn on a dime, and boy, I'm so thankful it did. So anyway, that's my ferry boat story. It's part, like I say, it's part of a trilogy, because this all happened, in a 3-week period. People at my new job were just laughing. They said, I'm walking around with a dark rain cloud over my head all the time, and it sure felt like it, but I lived through it to tell the story. K7ITX.
W7ITX. Let's see if Wade's with us. W7ITL. Wade again. Let's move on down to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Well, let's see, Dave, I've got 71 degrees and clear here at the house. That reminds me, tonight we're talking about telescopes. If someone still has one, you might want to peek out tonight. There's what they call a strawberry moon tonight. It's supposed to be a full moon, and it's supposed to be very bright. Should be rising, I think they said like 9:15-ish in the southeast, and then it'll set in the morning in the southwest. Anyway, full moon tonight, strawberry moon. Watch out for werewolves, I guess. Let's see. Bert, good idea with that remote control telescope. Good luck with setting that up. Yeah, that could be a little bit of a challenge, but that could be fun. If you can get the thing working here and get it somehow with an internet connection, that would be really cool. I remember working with this one fellow once, and he had some program on his cell phone, so it must have been fairly recent, probably like not a whole lot more than 10 years ago anyway. And he'd be able to hold his cell phone up in the sky, and it would show him what constellation he's looking at and all that. It was pretty cool. I thought about putting it on my phone, but I don't know what happened. I think I forgot about it after I got home from work that time. But this reminded me of that. But Dick, trains, planes, and boats. Quite a story. Thanks. It seems to me I remember you saying something like that sometime in the past, but it's been so long I've forgotten it. Thanks for mentioning that. That's you cheated death, dude. That's a good thing. So thanks for that. And Dave, back to you, N7QO.
N7QO, it's time for an ID again. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. Again, I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Well, again, Ron selling a telescope. Boy, that's been a long process, and congratulations that he got that out of the way. So I think that's pretty good. And Lee troubleshooting his car, figuring out what was going on and how to fix it. You know, three parts, and it finally purrs like a kitten. So I think that's pretty good. And Bert with a remote telescope, I think that's a neat idea. Oh my gosh! And Richard with his 3-part disaster story. Boy, talk about being in the wrong place at the right time. You scored, well, it wasn't a hat trick, but anyway, it was pretty good. So anyway, that's kind of interesting. And this is Dave, KD7ZYM. I really haven't got much more to add to it, so let's bump back up to Ron, KD7QKU.
KD7QKU here again. Well, Jim, it's called Stellarium, and you can download the app. I just downloaded it on my phone. It's really one of the better ones. Maybe they have something different now, but it was the best one I'd ever seen. Lee's the one that told me about it. I think maybe you can hold your phone up and it'll show you what's up there. I don't know. There are apps I know that do that. I have one for satellite finder for the motorhome when I wanted to find the satellite, you know, for TV. I could hold my phone up to the sky and I could see the red dots of the satellites, and I could tell if they were above the trees or not. And then if they were behind the trees, of course, I wouldn't choose that spot to park the motorhome because I wanted to get satellite TV. So it was, you know, with satellite finder, that was real cool. So what else is going on? Oh, and Richard, my goodness sakes, that's quite a story. You may have told me about the train wreck, but for some reason, I couldn't remember. Of course, my memory isn't very good anymore. So, let's see. I did try to look at the moon last night. We have trees in the front of our house, and there's a big bare spot, but I didn't want to stay up that late, so I stayed up to, you know, I looked out the living room window. I can set the telescope up in the living room and look out the window. When the window's clean, it works pretty good. In the winter, it worked pretty nice. But last night the moon didn't want to it came up at 8:52 or something, and that it was over Wade's house about that time, 9 o'clock or 9:30, and I needed to get actually a little to the west to south, and then it's past my tree, and I have a good view of it. But that didn't happen. And the moon, of course, is later tonight than it was last night. It's almost an hour later every night in the moonrise, so it won't do me much good tonight. So, always fun to hear everybody's stories. So, back to net, KD7QKU. Oh, and Lee, I'm glad you got your car fixed. Let me let it drop.
KD7QKU, let's go to Lee, N7KC in Port Angeles.
And then you'd let it set for a while and it would start. And so it would quit and it just would not start. And so anyway, I actually had it towed in to the Ford truck place here in Seattle, and they looked at it, couldn't find anything wrong with it. And then somebody told me it was this little, like a voltage regulator, it was a little computer box that was on the firewall, and they said if I taken it off, I could take it into one of the automotive stores and they could test it. So I taken it off and I taken it into the store and they tested it. They said it was just fine. So we were going to go to Alaska, and I sure didn't want to have trouble with it the whole time we were on a trip to Alaska. So, and I had some other things that I wanted fixed, so I taken it to this small repair shop. I mean, some of the exhaust manifold bolts were broke off. And that's a terrible job. Most people want to pull the heads, and you know, and it's a big deal to try to fix those. And Ford was notorious for that. It was a 460 Ford in that motorhome. So anyway, this guy said, no, we can fix it in place. We don't have to pull the heads, and we won't charge you an arm and a leg. So I don't know. They must have drilled them out some way and put in helicoil or something. But anyway, they fixed it. So then I said, hey, you know, I got this little problem. Oh, he said, yeah, no. it's probably whatever it is, and I can't remember what it was. And I said, yeah, no, but it's been tested by 40. Yeah, no, he said, you know, they're only like $250. Just buy a new one, and the problem will go away. Because he said, if you're going to Alaska, you don't want to deal with that. It might actually stop and not start again. And up there, you know, you're hundreds of miles, and it's, you know, a big expense to have it towed anyplace. So anyway, so we replaced it. Guess what? No problem ever again. So, yep, he was right. It was that little box. So, back to net, KD7QKU.
QKU, let's go to Lee, N7KC in Port Angeles.
Okay, very good. Good stories all. N7KC, Lee in Port Angeles. Boy, talking about train wrecks, that one in India that occurred, was it yesterday or last night or something? Holy smokes. I think that's the biggest loss of life I've ever heard of in a train wreck. There were 1,000 people on each of those trains. What a terrible thing. Anyway, I won't hold it. It's always a fun net for me. I enjoy them. So, 7-3 everybody. Back to you, Dave, in 7KC, Lee in Port Angeles.
KC, let's go to Bert, N7CS.
I don't know that I have that much more to talk about now. Yeah, I heard that Indian train crash was pretty terrible. I haven't read the news on that yet, so I don't know all the details there. But I guess I'll just end it early there. So 73 all, this is Bert in Marysville, in 7CS, back to net.
CS, we got your 7-3. Let's go to Bob, K9PQ in Bottle.
Hey, well, not a whole lot to add here as well. Good stories tonight, and Richard, my goodness, yeah, you survived three right there, right in a row. That's impressive. That's impressive. And I don't think I've experienced any one of those three. So seeing it in person the way you did, so good on you. Okay, well, I don't also have a lot to add. I'm looking at my notes to see, and I don't see anything, so I'll just say 73 as well. Till the next time, K9PQ.
Q, we got your 7-3. Let's go to Richard, K7ITX in Kent.
Well, you caught me getting ready for bed. So it's been a really fun time tonight, everyone, and thanks for your participation. And all I can say is 73, back to net control.
9TX. Let's go to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Well, Ron, thanks for that information. And satellite finder program, that's interesting. Wonder if that will track the space station as well, or is that just intended for commercial broadcast satellites? Just curious about that. I've always wondered how when they set up a satellite dish on your house, what methods they use to point the thing properly. I do not have a satellite dish set up here. I just use the Comcast cable. But I do have two neighbors, both of whom used to have cable television / internet, and they have switched to the satellite dish network. Yeah, they seem to be more happy with that. Not exactly sure why, but it's interesting. All of the satellite dishes in the neighborhood are kind of pointed the same direction. A number, well, it's 9 o'clock. Okay, anyway, thanks everyone. Good night everyone. K7ZYM from N7QO.
QO, this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, net. I'd like to thank the owners and operators of the 08 machine, SeaTac Repeater Association, for letting us use WW7STR's repeater 147.08 for our voice communications. So this is Dave terminating the net at 9 o'clock. This is Dave, KD7ZYM, and this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. Good evening all.
WW7KC disconnected.